Hello, hello, hello. Hope you're doing nothing short of awesome. Thank you for joining me again, Mr. Minority, with another Heroscape tier ranking video. This time, Wave 3, Small Wave 3, Jandar's Oath. So, remember last time we talked about Utgar's Rage. Now we're going a little bit counter ways with Jandar. So, let's hop right into it, shall we? So first we got Alistair McDurk, if I remember his last name correctly. This fellow right here, I'm kind of torn on this one. We'll place him in the B tier, but I kind of want to put him in the A tier. But we'll talk about him and maybe I'll shift him around a little bit here. Alistair's pretty decent. Again, we're going into some more of the Earth history here. Again, a little skewed in terms of, Western civilization. Even that's a kind of a charged term, but you get kind of what I'm saying, maybe if you're an English speaker. But yeah, so hopefully again we'll get more varied historical units. Really looking forward to it with Renegade. We'll see. But Alistair, like him, got this Highland theme going on. Pretty good overall, pretty solid. I would say if his defense were one more, then that would make him, very solid choice. But overall, pretty good, especially if you're doing some combos and solid hero, especially with his life. He's got that 6 life, and then if you need to overextend, attack once more and put a damage counter on him, you've got that option. It's not a bad option because he's got 5 attack, and that ain't soft. That's a hard hitter. Okay, that's starting to be your choice frontliners and when you want to push through. So I'm going to put him in B again. Might shift around a bit. Konkin, I'm going to put Konkin in the solid B tier. And actually, the only thing holding him back is I'm not really a big fan of his face design. Like if he had a helmet on, he'd be A tier. No issues about that. But then also, not only that, then in terms of his design, but also how good he is. He's pretty lackluster, actually. Most of these other guys, these other Kiri, that is, when I say guys, it could be whatever. They have an aura, right? Certain number of spaces that they can do something. With his, it's just adjacent. So, at least it's kind of keeping within the spirit of it, but it's only, if I remember correctly, knights. And just to be honest with you, I'll be looking over here because Jandar's Oath is where I started to fill in some of the gaps. I had maybe about 50-60% of Heroscape for as a kid. And then as an adult, then I started, filling in the gaps. So some of the sets, like Jandar's Oath, were filled in recently within the last few years, and so I'm not as familiar with them right off the top of my mind, so I might have to kind of reference some stuff. And especially Konkin's not that great, so that kind of, but I think it's just, Knights and Sentinels that are adjacent receive an additional attack and defense dice. So, if you've got that synergy and you're all in the same place, it can be actually pretty decent. But since you have to be adjacent, okay. Now because he's only worth 80, he's got the 4 attack, 4 defense. He's got the flying. Okay, okay. He's not too bad of a bargain. But there's just, I think, a lot better choices when it comes to Kiri and support and synergies. But if more knights come out, and then also sentinels, then this could really potentially stack a lot more. So yeah, in terms of Deathwalkers, we're back to the Deathwalkers. I'm gonna put him. This guy's kind of creepy fun. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. I'm gonna put him in the low A tier. I almost want to kind of come back to the B tier, but I like Deathwalkers. Okay, we got some sci-fi. Remember in Gar's Rage I said we didn't really have sci-fi, so I was lacking. Now we got some sci-fi going on, so we're remedying that. Always got to be a fan of the sci-fi. So Deathwalker 7000 departs from his brethren in terms of what he does on the battlefield. While the others are ranged attackers, he is a mega, if you will, to an extent. up close and personal attacker. He's got the stealth dodge with 7 defense. Remember the agents with their 3 defense, and especially if they have high advantage 4, not like to get through it. 7 defense, roll 1, you block everything. Yeah, that's pretty unlikely. So he's probably going to get right up to you. Once he gets right up to you, he explodes. Now, in my opinion, his detonation should probably do a little bit more. It's not as intimidating as it would seem, and that's what kind of holds him back. I kind of like the design. It's kind of creepy, like the one eye or camera in the middle. Different from just the Deathwalker 7,000 slash 8,000 slash 9,000 mold. So got some good creativity going. So I like that. Always having kind of the recognizability, that he is a Deathwalker, but then at the same time a different kind of variety of that. The Grellinators. Okay, so these ones we really had a blast with when we were younger. And yeah, they were also the butt of a lot of jokes. So the Grellinators, they're pretty bad especially for how much they're worth. If they had, maybe 3 defense, or if they had like a double tough one, that would probably be more. They would be more worth it. But especially since their tough only is for normal attacks, I believe. Let me just make sure that's from pure memory. Yeah, normal attacks. They'll be chewed up by guys like, speaking of the Deathwalkers, 2 Deathwalkers, 8,000 and 9,000. They'll just fall like that because they got 1 defense, and so I think they're pretty bad, and there was a missed opportunity with them in terms of making them better. We do get some more synergy later on, but right now, they're pretty lacking, I would say, and so their design is decent. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of putting animals in kind of the anthropomorphic position. Collective Combine, I think is what it was called in Age of Annihilation. Kind of looking at you. Yes, I did read all the Red Wall books when I was a kid. I did enjoy them, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. However, if it's a big, intimidating animal, like a gorilla or like a polar bear, you got me. So the polar bears I would probably put in the A tier. But what am I'm not ranking Age of Annihilation, so shut up. Okay, is this Johnny Shotgun Sullivan? Again, one of the newer ones, so not as familiar with him in terms of me getting him. Haven't really chosen him that much either, so I can't really say to any appreciably accurate extent, how meta he is. He seems okay. He's not worth that much, which is nice. He's got a little bit of versatility with his special attack, but he's gonna fall pretty quickly once the front line breaks through, and then you've got, if you're in the midst of attackers, physical non-ranged attackers who are right up to him, he doesn't have the life or the defense to save it. So lawman I like. I'm not a huge fan of the American West as a genre. Yes, I grew up watching lots of 30s and 40s movies, and that was around the time of Cecil B. DeMille was the director of a bunch of westerns, the Golden Age, Stagecoaches, Treasure of the Sierra Nevada, all those. Yeah. Gregory Peck, I guess even Humphrey Bogart was in it. John Carradine, John Wayne, Randolph Scott. The list goes on and on. So I grew up with them. Alan Ladd, No Name on the Bullet, Audie Murphy. I don't know why I'm just all of a sudden this is turning into that was in the 50s though, Audie Murphy. Anyway, this is turning into a movie review. That being said, I'm not a huge fan. It's okay. It has its spot, and I'll watch those kinds of movies, but I'm not a huge fan of that time period. So I'm a little bit of a impartial bias, or negative bias, I should say. Well, not negative, tepid, lukewarm bias to lawmen. So it's okay. But I kind of like the idea, again, exploring different facets of history. I like it to be a little bit more diverse in terms of more cultures. We're, again, a little skewed here, but hey, at least we've got some historical units. So here we go. Speaking of historical units, I'm going to put these bad boys right behind their... no, I'm going to put them a little bit because I like Konkin minus the non-helmeted features. The Highland Warriors. So these guys are very new. I don't actually think I've even played with them before, unfortunately, because they seem like they'd be kind of an interesting one to synergize with Alistair McDurk because they have the Highland Rage ability, which adds one more attack for every wound on your chosen human champion, and of course, this human champion named Alistair can damage himself. So hey, you get more attack. But in terms of their actual, and then of course they have human champion bonding, which is nice. In terms of their actual attack, though, and their stats, excuse me, pretty mediocre. So they really kind of have to rely on that. If they're not bonded with him, which why would you choose them? Then they're borderline worthless. So they've got to have some damage. But if they do, I mean, what would the max attack be? Is there a max? No, it doesn't look like there's a max on this. So you could have up to 7 attack for each. Whew. 7 attack with quadruple attack. Dang. That's a lot of attack. So I like their aesthetic. It's decent. Again, getting in that Highland setting. So yeah, very solid designs. Marden Hounds. I'm gonna put these guys right here. They're interesting. So they're Morrow, but they're Morrow. They're technically Wolzenu, or however you pronounce it, but they're a Morrow dog. And they've got an interesting COVID ability, the Plague, along with their movement, which is not guaranteed. Likely, but not guaranteed. So they're interesting. They're interesting as an RA card. And for us, because we did such large battles, they actually typically perform very well because they can have very, high movement and move into very crowded areas and plague right and left. So they usually carry their weight pretty well. The design, I think, again, is kind of decent. Not really anything too spectacular. Skeleton dogs or hounds or wolves, however you want to call it. So decent, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Solid. And let's go with these Microcorp agents, I believe they're called. Well, I believe they come with the McDurk Warriors, so I haven't played with them either. I would place them probably... There's a lot of B listers here in the B tier. They have a chance to outshine the Nikita agents. Not the Nikita agents, the Krav Maga agents. I'm moving ahead here. They've got a lot of agents here. But they kind of do and they kind of don't. It really depends on the board. If you got some Sweets Water, they're your guys. They got the extra attack die, and they got the extra defense potentially as well, along with the armor, which generally speaking is not going to be as good as the Krav Maga agents, but again, it just kind of depends on the situation, but generally speaking, it won't be as good. So yeah, and then their design, here we're going for the sci-fi again, not by too much, it's not too far in the future, but a little bit of sci-fi, so again, we're kind of touching on the historical. Don't have a lot of fancy on this one, in this set, but then a little bit with, I guess you could say, the Curie. So yeah, decent overall, solid. And now we move to Sayland. I would put Sayland in the solid A tier. I really like her design. I believe it's a her and it. However you would call yourself Sayland. I like the design aesthetic. I actually had originally the same fantasy as the one I was referencing with Krug as the main hero. I modeled the armor very much after Sayland, the main hero, with the green and gold. And so I like Sayland. I like the armor. I like the aesthetic a lot. I like the ability. And again, the ability, the Spear of Summoning, yeah. Spear of Summoning can be really advantageous depending on the board. The higher and more vertically it goes, then the better this thing can potentially be. You can really set up in a strong position, coupled again potentially with someone like Theracus, again depending on how large the battle is, that sort of thing. So Salem is really a pretty good addition to the meta. I like the idea of being able to move around and have that mobility, and of course having a Curie do it, because the Curie, I like, they have a kind of pivoting role in the games, where in the meta, where they have general abilities that affect large swaths of the meta. That's why I'm not, or the characters, that's why I'm not a huge fan of someone like Konkin, because he is very limiting as opposed to like a Kelda or a Raylan or a Taylord or a Sayland. Because they can, be very helpful to whatever faction or whatever class of, figures you might have. Whereas Konkin's very specific. So, yeah, Sayland's very strong. Okay, the Sentinels of Jandar. Again, I just have a partiality to angelic-looking beings. I think they're pretty cool, and the Sentinels are no exception. I definitely like the minions of Ukar decent amount better than them. But they're pretty cool. They're kind of the opposite end of the spectrum with the minions of Ugar, or at least the Mirror Reflection, whereas they have more defensive. They got that higher defense in terms of rolling and doubling their defense potentially, and then they've got less for the attacking. Overall, I'd say they're maybe a little worse than minions of Ugar because they do not have that bonding, and because the defense is not as assured as offense, but they're still pretty solid. I would say they're a pretty solid tier, and I like their design. I love the kind of angelic kind of evocation. I like their musculature along with their weapons and their wings. Pretty good designs overall. So we got some double thumbs up for that one. Shaolin monks. These ones have always kind of intrigued me because they seem to be kind of fantastical in terms of their ability to leap so massively high, and the fact that they're also for Ular, which is more kind of a fantasy mystical general. So I would put them here. They're an interesting addition. Again, more recent purchase on my end, so I can't really comment too well on how well they are in terms of the meta, but they seem to be pretty decent with their ability to obviously move, depending on that, of course, is depending on the board, on how actually great that is, but their ability to use their special attack and clear out squads. Anyone that can attack multiple times is always going to be favored in terms of the meta. So yeah, there you have it, Jandar's Oath. There's actually no really bad designs in this, or lacking designs in this one that stuck out to me. He would be kind of the lowest, but I would still put him in the B tier. Solid design, even for a lawman. No awesome level designs, I would say, in my opinion, but we've got some good characters here. They're all solid. They're all kind of upper to mid to upper tier, in my opinion. You can see the screen, but yeah, overall I would say a decent set indeed. But that's Heroscape, right? That's why I like Heroscape so much. So they didn't come out with any weak sets. There were maybe some that were noticeably weaker, but even in their weakness, they still portrayed so much strength. So yeah, there was an announcement that I was going to make at the end of the video, and here it is. So there will be a drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card. Yeah, I guess, feeding the beast. I know, but hey, anyway, it's pretty universal, so we'll go with it. $25 Amazon gift card. Just be a subscriber or comment on one of my videos. So unfortunately, I know there are some people who don't like to associate themselves with me. I wouldn't. No. So some of you are subscribed but privately, like I can't view it. No problem. Just comment on the video. If you are, however, subscribed and comment, I'll double it in terms of the drawing, so you'll be twice as likely to win. This will be going on a month, so this video should be releasing the beginning of August, and then we'll go through the end of August. So during that time, all the comments during that time will be counted, along with, of course, subscribers, And then beginning of September, hopefully, that's when I will draw, and someone will be getting a $25 gift card. So yeah, that's for the anniversary of this channel, the 1 year anniversary. Yay! My goal, I guess, is to get the highest ratio of videos to subscribers, I guess. You know, tons of videos, no subscribers. Gotta be the best of something. So, best of luck to you. Hope you enjoyed this video. We're going down the line on this lovely Heroscape stuff, and I will see you in the